Hi, Ro. Thank you for being here and chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. It's going
I'm
to
glad to
be,
be here. Thank you for inviting me.
thanks. It's going to be a different subject for us. You
Mm.
premiered your video, and I'm summarizing here, a letter to yourself or a letter to herself back on December 31st of last year, 2025, about a
Yeah.
loss you suffered, which I will link in the description. Can you give us a little synopsis on what that video is about?
Yeah. So that video was about me, about the year that I had in 2025, some of the challenges I had. It was really a difficult year for me, and I was basically trying to alleviate some stress that I was putting on myself regarding the loss of my partner. Prior to me doing that video, I had been kind of dancing around the issue. He had passed away in June. And by the time that movie or that video came out, it was like 6, 7 months later. And the whole time was still recording, which was just still a little bizarre to me. But I think that I found some kind of comfort in that. Meanwhile, while I was doing that, though, I kept wanting to reference him, but I didn't want to keep saying something like, oh, my newly passed partner, or just having to re explain myself every time I brought him up. So I would just avoid the subject altogether. It was almost like I was keeping it a secret.
Right.
And it was really causing me a lot of problems on top of already, just grieving and mourning and everything else that comes with taking care of the financials and et cetera, et cetera. And then at some point, it just kind of all came to a head. And I was like, if I'm going to keep recording, I need to at least take that much stress away, because that was something that I was adding to it on my own. I mean, that's how that's how I felt about it. And so I said, either you're going to tell the people what's going on, or you're just going to stop recording, because it was problematic. Sorry.
Right.
We
It's
got
all
a
right. We
visitor.
love the kitty. Yay, kitty.
And so I ended up coming up with the idea. I saw somebody else do it, but she was doing like something obviously way different. And but I decided to go and just and make it public. And honestly, once I did it, I felt so much better. It's not that I went into any kind of huge detail about it, but just getting it off of my shoulders felt so much better.
Right.
And I was able to, like, I felt like I didn't have to explain it the way that kept thinking I was going to have to do. I could talk about them more naturally. I could still bring them up if I wanted to. And it just wasn't going to be as stressful as I was making it. So it was basically me announcing that, and why my channel kind of didn't drop off necessarily, but
Right.
um, the caliber of content that I thought that I was putting out there did degrade quite a bit. I wasn't putting the same energy into it, and I didn't even know if anybody noticed, but of course I did. And I just felt like, you know what, just tell them what's going on. You don't have to go into detail. Just get it off your chest and stop hiding it.
Right.
Just, why are you doing that? I was making it hard on myself for no reason, I think. Um, but
Which,
then I went and did the video, and I don't regret it. I'm glad I did. I only, said a few lines here and there. And then I talked about being hopeful and looking towards the future, and telling my future self to be kinder to me than what I was currently being to myself at the time.
right. Yeah, which you brought it up in what you just said, but that it was like a secret that you were keeping. So a lot of cultures, keep death as a very private thing, and it's not something you talk about. But there are other cultures that do openly celebrate it and talk about it.
Hmm.
Did
Hmm.
you come from the culture that's open or more secrecy? Like, how do you say?
So my birth parents didn't necessarily talk about it. Um, when I was 13, my mom had passed away, and um, even then, yeah, we just did not talk about it. There wasn't like space for me to have big emotions and deep conversations with, the people, the elder people in my family who were around at the time. But then I ended up getting adopted shortly thereafter. I mean, like within, 3 months, I ended up getting adopted, and that family was completely opposite. And they were far more interested in encouraging me to um, feel my feelings, get help if I needed it, accept help if it was, offered. And even with saying all that, though, I still had, it just didn't come naturally to me.
Mm.
I just hadn't been brought up that way.
Right.
As you said, in the culture in my household, we just didn't talk about it in that way. We still had like big funerals. We still got together and
Mhm.
all of that. And maybe it was because I was 13 years old at the time. Maybe they didn't feel it was appropriate to have those conversations with me. But it just didn't come natural in me. And so, kind of with that video was, I felt like a step in the right direction for me, because it was really hard. And I mean, I'm okay with talking to people. That's fine. But like the deeper, stronger feelings that I have, I usually keep to myself, or I would tell to Tim or my mom.
Mhm.
But outside of those two people, it's just not something that I would do. And so, like,
Right.
making that video was really me stepping outside of myself and really just trying to create a different narrative for myself in that regard.
Right. So sharing this kind of information is never easy, let alone sharing it with a few thousand, virtual strangers. What was the process like for you? Like, and you mentioned a little bit of it, like you decided today's the day. What was the process like?
Um, the process of the video itself wasn't particularly hard. It was no different than doing any other video. It
Mhm.
was the decision to make the video that was hardest for me. I mean, like, I think well, yeah, I did mention earlier that it was like 6, 7 months later that I even
Mhm.
brought it up. And that whole time, though, I kept telling myself, like, well, you don't want to mention it because you don't want it. One of the things I was worried about was like people interpreting me bringing it up as a cry for
Mm.
sympathy.
Right.
And that's definitely not up my alley. And I thought that I had to keep it to myself. And yeah, it took me a long time to come around to that. And then when I finally did, I mean, it was within hours. I just said, okay, well, we're doing it. And I was at work at the time, which is why the video was filmed in my office. I was
Oh.
sitting at work processing everything but work. And I was like, you know what? Let's
Wow.
just do it. And I threw it up on the channel. I didn't post it for probably, I think it took me about 2 or 3 days to make it public.
Mhm.
And then I was like, yeah, now it's out there. Okay, we're done.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, the process of the video itself was not hard. It was coming to the decision to tell people, what was going on, as
Right.
vague as I was.
Some of us who have followed you for a while, like myself and many others, may have felt that something was amiss over the summer, which you've confirmed. For me, it was because the grass wasn't getting cut, and I know that it was Tim who was doing your grass mainly. How much was Tim involved in, the actual garden space and in gardening in general, I guess?
He was very involved in that. He was the one who did the lawn care. He helped me pick out what vegetables we put out there. He helped me with the layout.
Nice.
He dug all the holes for my bushes and my trees. And if I couldn't be home to water, he would do the watering. If I couldn't harvest, he would do the harvesting. He was very instrumental in that regard. But you
Mm.
never saw that
Right.
because he didn't want to be in front of the camera.
Mhm. Did he have a favorite, aspect of the garden? Obviously, he helped a lot. Did he like that, or did he just like the end result or the beginning?
I would say his favorite part was the choosing what we were going to grow
Mm.
and what we were going to eat.
Okay,
Those were
beginning.
his favorite parts. For
Right.
the most part, though, yeah, I mean, he was super proud of me that I had that. I mean, multiple times I would like get a message on the phone from the home camera because he'd be walking a neighbor or his
Oh.
uncle or his aunt through the backyard and showing them the plants or something like that. Like he loved it. He was so proud of it and he was happy for me. But he'd be like, oh, I promised so and so that you would give them a couple jars of the new spaghetti sauce. And I'd be like, Tim, it took, from beginning to end, it took way too long to be giving this away.
Right.
But
Oh,
so
that's great.
yeah, I mean, I would say the harvests and the getting to eat the food afterward was his favorite parts.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't care for digging all those big old holes,
Right.
but you know,
Yep,
you got to
yep.
contribute, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
exactly. This is an odd question to ask, but was he a wise man or a fool to hold you back from your seed addiction?
I would say Tim was a wise man. He was definitely of the mind frame of happy wife, happy life.
Okay.
So if I wanted to buy more seeds, he'd be like, okay, where are we going? Let's get some seeds. If I wanted to put another bed in, he'd look at me like I was crazy, but he'd be like, okay, if you say so. Yeah, as
Awesome.
long as it didn't hinder him, because at one point I did have the garage blocked, both
Mm.
of the garage doors, and he was like, "Okay, babe, I love you, but this cannot be." And I was like, all right, you're right, you're right, you're right." And I came around, and I moved things around or whatever, but for the most part, I could have spent my whole paycheck on everything gardening, and if
Mm.
it made me happy, he would have been happy for me. There's
Oh,
no way he would have held me back from any of that.
very good. Was he
Wise
involved?
man, wise
Wise man,
man.
yes. Was he involved in any of the technical aspects of your channel? Did he like say, "Oh, that should you should, video this or let me help you with editing or anything like that?"
No, the channel was, I mean, once in a blue moon he would watch one of my videos. um I cuz he just didn't have any interest in growing it. He just wanted it when it was done, right?
Yeah,
Like all that time leading up, the starting the seeds, all that other stuff, no, he couldn't
yeah.
care less.
Okay.
He would help me if I asked for it, but other
Mhm.
than that, no. And I tried to get him to do some recording for me a few times, and it was just awful.
Oh,
And so I, was, you know, um, yeah, the channel, I had to nurture that on my own,
mm,
but he was very supportive, from a distance in the technical aspect.
right. We know that the garden can heal our body and our souls. You've spoken about this in some of your chats as well. How has the garden helped you through this time in particular?
Well, I think to begin with, I kind of stayed away from the garden, mostly because I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Sometimes when you have, especially with a garden, and even though mine is small, with me doing it basically on my own, I just kept running into like analysis paralysis all the
Mm,
time. So I just stopped going out there. I couldn't make a decision. I kept remembering, things with him out there, and I just stopped doing it. I wouldn't cut the grass. I wouldn't prune anything. I wasn't even harvesting half the time.
mm,
It was a really sad time. But now, once I started, processing it and getting a little bit better with it, of course, it was like towards the end of the season. Man, it did feel good to get out there and for me, when I get into the garden, sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the times, I get into the zone. Like I get in this headspace. There's just kind of white noise everywhere. And I'm
mhm,
focused on what I'm doing. I'm thinking about, what I'm going to be doing with this, watching it grow and, all that kind of stuff. You get kind of tangled up in that. And then your mind kind of separates from all the things that's kind of hurtful at the time. So it's really cathartic in that way. But then I was thinking, equally as important was the actual physical activity of gardening was good because I wasn't one sitting in the house crying the whole time and,
mm,
in self-destruct mode. I was out there getting stuff done and I was going to bed tired from working hard at something
right.
that I got to sit on my back deck and enjoy and remember that he used to enjoy. And
Mhm,
I mean, all the way around, mentally and physically, it was very helpful. And maybe even in a slightly spiritual way as well. I mean, because I think back, well, not think back, but when I think about it, I have kind of like tributes to people who have passed before
Mm.
out there in the garden. And, you know, my adoptive mom is still alive, but this past summer, when she was here in town, we went and we bought plants that she wanted me to remember her by,
Oh,
perennial. And we put those out there. And then I put out, my Roses Sharons for my birth mom. And I have other things out for my birth father. And, so I mean, I'm just really connected out there. I feel really grounded. I'm really mindful. I want to say I get serious, but it's different than that. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost tantric.
right.
Yeah, getting in the garden, and that's why I'm so looking forward to 2026. Like I said, I didn't pull my head out of my butt until almost the end of last year, and I really didn't get to get out there like I probably should have.
Mm.
So I'm looking forward to the spring so I can just reconnect and you know just be be
Right.
out there.
Well, speaking of like the memorial that you mentioned, was there something special that you were going to do for Tim, you think? Or I'm sure.
Well, I kind of did already in that. So everybody we knew that I was definitely into gardening, and he certainly made that known to everybody. So many people at the funeral and any events afterwards, they were bringing like plants and stuff that I should be planting outside. Got maybe half of them out there, but again, it was like the end of the summer.
Right.
It wasn't the best time to be doing those things, but my favorites were there was a green-eyed rudbeckia that I got that out there. I think
Mhm.
that might come back. And then the other one was two like big dinner plate hibiscus. They were
Ooh,
red, which was his favorite color. And I put those in the backyard, and I'm hoping those will come back. If
yeah.
those come back, then I won't make a big to do about putting something out there for him because those
Mhm.
will have already been out there. But
Okay.
if those don't come back, then yeah, I think well, I don't think I know that I'll figure out something to put out there for him.
Mhm.
What that's going to be, I don't know. Where it's going
Okay.
to go, who knows? But
Yeah.
if those come back, I won't be too stressed about finding something new to put out there in his
Right.
memory.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you have a huge YouTube family there for you. How do you feel about the community you've built? Like I know you like visit your friends a lot and you've shared that with us. How
Yeah, and we have a girls trip coming up in 21 days. Yay.
wow, yay.
We're meeting up in Dayton. So whenever I started this YouTube channel, I had no idea that this was how it was gonna go.
Mhm.
Um, the day that the evening that he passed away, Gina versus Gina got in her car and drove here
Wow.
to be with me. Like, I blew my
Right.
mind, and um, Fr Humphrey and Best Yet Journey and TT's Urban Pantry, they checked on me daily. We still talk daily. Miss Shirley OG Gardner, she reached out frequently to see how I was holding up. Urban Gardening Container, Backyard Container, Urban Backyard Container Gardening,
Gardener?
that's it.
Mhm.
He, we're friends on Facebook, and he regularly posts really encouraging and uplifting things to my page for me to read,
Mhm.
and they keep my spirits up. And G Mama and Mike and gosh, I mean, just countless people have been supportive in a way that I wasn't expecting, right? Like I felt like whenever I started the YouTube channel, if anything would forge as far as a friendship, it would probably be, surface at
Mhm.
most. That's
Right.
what I was thinking. And I'm glad I was wrong. But
Yes.
through this whole thing, and especially after I was like open and honest about what was going on, oh my goodness, Joy, I'm still blown away by how kind people have been to me. It is really, it's almost a little overwhelming, right? Because
Mhm.
I wasn't expecting it. And I don't know if prior to this, I was thinking that all of these online friendships were not necessarily fake, but they
Right.
weren't, you know, quantitative, I guess.
Right,
And then, but
tangible.
yeah, right. But then
Right.
now, and the craziest part is 90% of these people I've never even met in person. And I'm
Right.
just like, why would you care? You don't even have to do this, right? Like, yeah. So the online community that I've built since I've gotten the channel has, I'm shocked by it. I'm
Mhm.
shocked by it. And I'm glad. I feel blessed. I'm very, very lucky that the people who took an interest in me did, and that they are genuine, and I'm just a really lucky girl.
Yes, definitely. And I feel that, like, I don't know if it has anything to do with the internet in general or maybe the pandemic we had, that people are always seeking people, and having that genuine connection. And I think a lot of times YouTube does allow for people's real persons to show through, even though there is a lot of fakeness. But yeah, some people just are just real when they come through on the screen, and you
Yeah,
feel like you want to be their friends, and
yeah,
and so therefore you want to make those connections when you can. And I'm really glad that you've gotten that.
yeah.
So you recently told us that you've connected with Tim's extended family,
Hmm.
and that they have also interest in gardening, and you've also made a video about that. Check that out. How has that been? How's that going?
It is wonderful. She is constantly asking me what's going on around the house and in the house, because she happens to be very into houseplants as well. But his aunt and his uncle, they've been to the house many a time. And so they want to know what's going on, and, what can they look forward to in the future, as far, because they always got, hot peppers and spaghetti sauce and stuff. And so, what are we doing this year? And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, hold on. But it's going really good. I'm glad to have um, people who are in my daily life who are interested in what put so much of my energy into. Because the rest of my family, not really, not really. They don't get it. They're just like, yeah, okay,
That's interesting.
yeah. So his family, though, is on the opposite spectrum of that. I mean, they've been gardening for, his aunt is a master gardener,
Mhm.
and her daughter is a master gardener as well.
Wow.
And yeah, so like, who knew?
Right? All
Who
this time.
knew? And of course, she's telling me now, she's like, when are you going to become a master gardener? I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no,
there
no.
you go.
Yeah, that's too much of a commitment. I cannot.
All right.
Maybe when I hit like 60 or
Right.
something,
Exactly.
but right now, no, no.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been wonderful having them, and their interest in what I got going on around here, and sharing seeds, and all that fun stuff.
Right. As a resilient person, how do you put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward? Um, that's a very broad question, I guess. But once you got past the initial shock of everything, what do you think kept you going?
Um, I'm not one for wallowing.
Hmm.
That's to begin with. I don't like being sad. I don't like wallowing. I wasn't gonna stay that way forever. But secondly, it occurred to me that Tim wouldn't want me sitting around just, beating myself over the head about different stuff, and not moving forward, not doing what I love, not um, trying to achieve my goals. Uh, Just there was there's a time for collecting your thoughts and mourning and all of those things that come along with that, but it doesn't have to last forever and ever and ever. And I just decided okay, that's enough. um, also, I mean, I got a lot going on here. I
Right.
couldn't watch my plants die. I mean,
Right.
I don't want to sound callous, but I was like, okay, my allocations, we spent way too much money on these. And, I mean, I don't know. Just, I'm lucky though that I had all these daily reminders in front of me about what what else was important to me, what else brought me joy, what else I like to do. And yeah, it wasn't, I mean, I'm still putting one foot in front of the other, but every day, incrementally, I just feel stronger and stronger. And that doesn't mean that, I don't still kind of sit and stare into space and conjure up all that old stuff or whatever. I mean, I think I'll probably do that for forever. But,
Hmm.
um, you know, at least for today, I could say it's not paralyzing me like it had been for a few months.
Right.
And yeah, just one day at a time. I hate to be cliche, but
Yeah.
one day at a time.
Right.
And instead of trying to think about, instead of trying to tell myself that I should be at a certain stage in my grief, I
Mm.
finally told myself, just don't worry about that. If this is where you are right now, if that's fine. Who are you bothering? Nobody.
Right.
So just do what you can on a daily basis and keep moving forward. And that's about all I've been able to do. So, yeah.
You're doing good, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there.
What has been the most challenging element to maneuver without your partner, other than mowing the grass?
I know, right? I'm not looking forward to that. In fact, I was thinking I'm going to have to find that kid and
Oh.
start paying him to do my yard again.
There you go.
um, I think the hardest part, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is that sharing like all of my deeper feelings and all of my
Mhm.
deeper thoughts does not come naturally for me, but I
Right.
did share those with him. And I miss having somebody that, if something wonderful happened, I could just up and call him, or if something crappy happened, I
Right.
could call him, or if I could bounce my ideas off of him, or, late at night, we'd be just talking about random stuff and
Mhm.
making plans for the future and somebody's to lean on or somebody's ear to bend. That was my person.
Right.
And I miss that. I miss that a lot.
Right. My last question is, if there was one thing you could pick that like was him, his either a personality quirk or um something he always said that you feel like you carry, like has weight to you, like could you pick one thing and just share it with us?
Oh gosh, he had so many things that he was into. So I'll give you uh Tim was very witty and he was silly. And one of the favorite things he used to say when people would be complaining is he goes, let me get it right before I mess it up.
Okay.
Okay, so to help them put things in perspective, he would say, um, sex is like pizza. It's not always great, but it's still good. To help people wrap their head around, things aren't always going to be perfect,
Mhm.
but sometimes good enough is enough, right?
Right.
It's better than not having it, that's for sure. And then the other thing that I think about when I think of him is his love of music,
Mhm.
which, I mean, we went to concerts constantly, constantly, constantly. And I was talking to my girlfriend tonight, who I ran into, and she said, her husband Chewy, he can't go to shows because he's got a sensitivity to loud music or whatever. And she said, I haven't seen you posting any videos, going to any concerts or anything lately. And I said, I haven't been but to one since he passed. And
Mm.
she goes, oh, that's crazy. She goes, well, "You're gonna be my concert partner for this coming year." And I was like, "I am all about that.
Nice.
Yes." And Tim would love that because he loved Meredith. So, yeah, his love of music and his quirky way with wisdom.
All right. All right, I got one more question I'm gonna throw in.
Sure.
When I guess early on in your relationship, were you already a plant lady? Was this something he married into already, or was this something that developed?
Oh, I came with the plants.
All right.
Yeah. I maybe wasn't, I definitely didn't have as big a garden as I have now,
Mhm.
but yeah, I was pushing the envelope then. The house, by the way, then was a jungle. The house was a jungle.
Wow.
You check my videos like 5 years ago. Yeah, he walked into this. He knew what he was getting into.
Okay.
I don't think he knew that the garden was going to get the way it was, but
Mhm.
it couldn't have been far off. He was a smart guy. He had to know. Yeah.
Awesome. It's nice to hear someone else's perspective on life things. And, we can have this conversation for hours, but thank you for
Thank you.
opening up to me.
Not a problem.
And I hopefully we'll have another chat, during the end of the summer, talk about our harvest and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got some other ideas. I'm willing to come on and chat again.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good rest of your, well, evening in this case.
Yeah, you too, honey.
All right.